I thought, since we were headed down this direction, that I would just run his camera for a little while. We are on Highway 131. We're probably about 2 miles south on 131, so we're still in Steamboat. If you are familiar with this road, we're on a long straight stretch that heads directly due south. All right, I suppose I should see about filming this. So good morning. It's actually 11. It's 7 minutes after 11. I'm usually down here quite a bit earlier. But I am on Highway 131, one of my favorite highways in Colorado. And we are just a little bit northwest of the turnoff to State Bridge. And there, in fact, is State Bridge. In case you've ever wondered what State Bridge is, you've seen it. So we are gonna turn off this way. I have to admit, I was enjoying listening to music, and I was enjoying not trying to be coherent. Of course, I wasn't talking, so that made it a bit easier. But here we are on bouncy old city. Now, you've never, unless you've been on the Trough Road, you've probably never seen this road from this side. And there's definitely a difference. It's like two different roads, except the one thing they have in common is they're both really, really rough and bouncy. And I'm just not in a rush today. I'm avoiding a snowstorm over rabbit ears, and it looked like Gore might be getting it too. So, well, we'll see. Today is February 27th. It is Monday. There is a winter storm. No, there's actually not a storm watch, but apparently we're going to get a storm tomorrow. There may be a storm watch or whatever posted. But today, I don't have to worry as much about the snow. Saw that one. The trick really is to try to get far enough off the road that you're not in soft, goopy mud, but that you at least have one set of tires out of the washboards. And that does work pretty well. You can see that people do that. A lot of people understand that, and so if the road is well traveled like this road, you got to really get the hell over to get out of the washboard, because the washboards will creep across the road. They'll come, they want to take over the road. It's like anything else in life, atrophy. Washboards are atrophy for a road that's used. This is a beautiful little canyon. Oh yeah, I was thinking about something just before I started rolling this. So over the weekend, Scott Adams got busted by the woke leftists for something. That doesn't surprise me, because Scott Adams likes to piss everybody off. He got me cranky a few weeks ago when he was going on about the, basically his premise was that only uneducated, in other words, only stupid people were smart enough to not take the vaccine. That was really what Scott Adams was saying, and that annoyed me because I think he's a bit of a pompous ass, actually. He probably would agree with that. But he apparently said something about, I think he was reading a survey that had been taken, which was asking African Americans, black people, if they liked or didn't like white people, or something like that. And what was it, like 25% of them that they didn't like white people. Now, a survey like that, in this day and age, is simply a survey taken by the left so they can see how well they're doing. And as you can see, they're doing pretty well. They are creating hatred. It's a shame that they're doing that by being divisive and by pushing races apart. And this is a way for them to get their metrics, to see how they're doing. I guess everyone has to know how they're doing, right? If you're an evil bastard and evil is your thing, you would probably want to have, if you had the money or the time, you would want to do a quantitative analysis of just how effective your evil was being. Well, that's the left. So that's a elk. Elk has been there a while. I'm surprised. Oh, that elk's been eating pretty good too. So really, it's one thing to get me cranky about, but it's another thing to get the left cranky, because the left is looking for reasons to hate, especially white guys with money, especially white guys with money and power. And Scott Adams probably has a little bit of both. You know, I think he's a retired phone company guy. I believe that's right. And as the cartoon comic strip writer, Dilbert, he's probably made a lot of bank, you know. He probably has a trophy wife. He was at that age to have a trophy wife. You guys might be wondering why I don't have a trophy wife. It's just that I refuse to accept anything other than first place. So that was supposed to be funny, but I don't really think it was very funny. Although I think a comedian could do something with that. So, yeah. So we just crossed over the Colorado River and the railroad tracks. And we are now on the south side. Now there's a little community here. Well, it looks like a community. Let me see if I can focus the camera on for just a second. I think I've got a moment I can do this. Yeah. So there's that community that you can't really see when we drive around it, especially right now. I've got the camera zoomed out a little bit because I like the effect. It doesn't give you as wide of an angle of view, but the increase in depth, and I think the increase in sharpness, I think, is worth it. So anyway, I'm playing with that. So this little town, well, I'm just going to call it a town. This is the bread and butter of the Trough Road. Really, or it's the best indicator of what the Trough Road really, well, what it does in the summer anyway. And it is a main artery for all the rafters and fishermen, you know, whatever. I have rafted before, not on this river, not on the Colorado, but on the Green, out in Browns Park. So anyway, I just wanted to finish talking about Scott Adams. So I was cranky with him, and I picked on him a little bit. Now I'm feeling a little bit bad, because now the woke people are picking on him. Well, although it's probably, but the fact of it is, he'll never know that I picked on him. My channel is really tiny, and all of you that watch my channel, which, by the way, I appreciate that. We don't make up a very large segment of the population, so very doubtful he'll ever hear of me being cranky at him. And if he does, why would he care? But a lot of his narrative is to make people angry. I've just noticed that he likes to. He definitely likes to put a burr under your blanket. Well, maybe he doesn't really. Maybe he likes to see how far he can push it. See how many people will finally, just lose their patience and say that's enough, and call him a bad name, like I did a few weeks ago. So anyway, this dude's traveling. Did you see how he just about didn't make it around that corner? You may not have caught that, but he was moving fast, and there was a lot of weight on his driver's side tires going around that corner. And he may have looked and seen this camera. That would be funny. This road is going through an area that is so cool. All of the different things that you see around here. And a lot of this is BLM. A lot of this is, if I were going to get out on it, I'd probably bring a map with me just to make sure. But very fun to explore. Probably a lot of fossils in here. You can see some of the clay layers and the different layers that fossils inhabit when you go through this canyon. And this is quite a rugged canyon. There's one spot up here where I think it might be on top of this hill, where you can basically look right through the main canyon. And what I'm calling the main canyon is the canyon that you can see from Kremlin. If you're over on the west side of Kremlin, basically at the grocery store, you can, as you're driving out, you can look straight into the canyon. At least that part of it, So anyway, I don't know if I can scope that spot out or not. But I did want to say that, yeah, I think that, to the left, the left is just salivating, waiting for people that they can throw under the bus. Everything that they do is about giving their lie credibility. And one of their lies is that white people are racists. And that if you're white, you're racist. That's basically it. But if you're white, you can't not be racist. That's critical race theory. That's just bullshit. Let's set up a little distillation procedure, and let's find out what the critical race theory opinion of white people are. Well, they say you're racist, and that's it. Well, let's boil that, and what you're going to find is a lump of bullshit. That's what you're going to boil. You're going to boil. I got another one behind me. Now, on a day like today, when this is a dry road, I am not the fastest car on the road by any stretch of the imagination. But I do go over the speed limit. Just keep that in mind, but not much. Just over it enough that I know I'm fulfilling my obligation. But I've talked about this on a Trough Road too. There are people, they really like to haul ass on a Trough Road. The guy behind me is hauling ass so much, he's not even bothering getting on my side of the road. In his mind, he's already passed me. And I'm doing 50 right now. I think speed limit's like 45 right now. But I'm in no big rush. I've gone faster here. But actually, I'd prefer for this guy just to get around me and go. So he'll be going and he will interrupt. I'll quit having vehicular interruptions to my monologue. So again, Scott Adams, I feel a little bad for him. The left is picking on him, but he's entirely happy about that, I'm sure, at some level, because he pushes it. He always pushes it. There you go. And then another person that I got pretty cranky about was Dan Housel. And you have to understand that when I start with a drive like I'm doing now, I rarely have anything in mind to talk about. When I turn the camera on, you're catching my stream of consciousness without any preparation. So, however, we got on the story. Oh, we got on the story because I was talking about Kelsey Mine, which I incorrectly call a gold mine when it's actually a diamond. And that made me think about the great diamond hoax out in northwest Colorado, which took place, I think, in the 1870s, I believe. Maybe the 1880s. And so I talked about that, and then as I'm just going through things, and I realized, oh, that's right, yeah, that I was there, when it was pristine, and then now it was raided by Dan, and so the story evolved that way. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that when I'm doing this, I am absolutely not scripted. So I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. I have no idea what story I'm going to dredge up and tell you. I hope it's going to be interesting, but I just have no idea. So now we have moved into, I believe we were in Eagle County. Now we're on County Road 1. I think we're in Jackson. Or are we in Grand County? It might be Grand County. Might be. Not sure. I don't think it's Jackson. Jackson, I think, is Walden. I think Grand is Grim and Grand County. I feel like that could be right, or it could also be wrong. So yeah, my goal here, as far as the speeding vehicles going around me, my goal here is not to race. I'm not racing anyone. But I don't want to hold anybody up. However, if someone is really speeding, if they're just really hauling ass, I don't care. They have to get behind me for a little while. If they're really, really hauling ass, I don't feel too sorry for them. They'll get around me, I'll get on there. But I certainly don't want to hold up people that are going the legal speed limit. That's probably the best way to put that. Oh yeah, this road is pretty awful. Believe me, if I get out just the tiniest little bit on this road, the car will shudder. You don't hear it that badly because I dropped the audio down a little bit. Even the deer have got to be show-offs. So, passing me. So yeah, so let me dispense with Scott Adams' subject. Yeah, I feel bad for him. The left is after him, but he sets himself up for it. And I think like a guy watching Stexenhammer, Stixenhammer, whatever. Steven Stixon. Long-haired hippie type guy. He used to be a Satanist. I think now he's just a, I don't know. I don't know what he is, but he's got a good opinion. He's got a good point of view. He was talking about what was it? Read. It's a very weird one. He was talking about that, saying basically, well, I'm saying more of what he would be saying rather than him saying more what I would say, because he's really a commentator on that kind of stuff. I'm not so much. My main goal is to fill the audio up a little bit, and if people want to listen to me, they're certainly welcome. But if they want to mute me and just watch the video, my main emphasis is on creating a really high quality video to the best of my ability, so that if you never come here, or even if you live here, you'll still get a good feel of what this area is like, because it's really quite a nice area. And this is not something that you're going to see on a travel show. You definitely don't get the kind of immersion in a travel show that you get from a real-time drive through somebody that knows the area. So, of course, if you muted it, maybe you just don't really care much about the particulars of it, or I'm talking about some ridiculous political stuff. But if the audio quality, or if the video quality is good, then I am super pleased. Didn't think we'd get on a wet road. Oh, I see. We have a bit of a bank of snow over here. I land over there too. So yeah, there's a tip for you. The road is really washboarded. Occasionally you can get out of it by just getting over further than most people drive. That can be uncomfortable, it can be dangerous, so you just have to be really careful doing that. But it certainly helps the drive. The car's running as smooth on this road as it ever has. So I'm quite pleased about that. What else is going on? Yeah, I have lunch with my friends. I had a bit of an argument with my friend's wife. I told him about the fuse that I bought in Laramie that they wanted to charge me $17.50 for. I left him a $10 bill for that fuse, right? I then got back a couple days later. I looked on eBay. I can buy 100 of those fuses for $10. And I believe that's free shipping and taxes on top of that. So that's 10 cents a fuse. So I was making the case that $17.50 is a little bit pricey for a fuse. And she was saying, well, you just don't understand business, because you have to get your markup on those little things to survive. And I replied, yeah, sure you do, and that's fine if you do, But do you really need the kind of markup from a 10-cent fuse to $17.50? Is that fair? And which is, at this point, she just grandstanded me and wouldn't answer the question. And so she continued grandstanding. And so I said, okay, let's look at it this way. There is going to be a price at which something is too cheap to sell. You can't make any money on it. And there will be a price at which it is so expensive no one will buy it. There is a range that this thing, whatever it is, will sell for. And there's also even a tighter range in there that it will sell for a certain price that satisfies the buyer and the seller. Because the buyer, for the most part, they're savvy. They know they need to pay a profit on something to have a store locally. She wouldn't respond to that either. So basically, I won the argument because she just started grandstanding on I don't know how businesses ran. Which is kind of funny because I have ran a business for, I don't know, 20 years now. But when you're arguing, and this is lighthearted argument too, I think I've explained it. She and her husband know how to push my buttons. And that's what she was doing. She was pushing my buttons. And she knows I'm right. But she won't admit it. So, and they don't watch my video. They don't watch any of this video stuff. So I think, if you guys know who I'm talking, if any of you know who I'm talking about, and you see them, you just might mention that I was talking about them. That would be good. Because then they'd be curious. What was he saying? No, but nothing bad. Like I say, it's all quite lighthearted. This is such a nice little area, nice little pass. The overlook, again, I'd stop there, but without taking the camera off the mount, which I need a wrench to do, it doesn't make any sense. And really, if you're interested in this area, just come check it out. If you're local, come check it out in the summer. I would suggest the summer. If you're not local, I don't know, we'll see. One of these days, we'll see. I do this, this is like little filming session to little filming session. I have no idea how long this is going to last. I mean, my intention is to do it for a while, but it's obvious I'm going to run out of roads that you haven't seen, or I'll have to expand my area if the channel becomes really popular and becomes monetized, which I kind of hate that thought also, because then that means there are commercials that you have to duck. By the way, I would recommend for any of you people that watch YouTube to just get YouTube Premium and skip the commercials. I hate commercials. So I've got YouTube Premium. I haven't watched, the only commercials that I watch now are like, for instance, if I would break into a commercial, and when someone does that, it depends. Sometimes I'll listen to it. I'll listen to what they have to say. Sometimes I won't. It just depends. But I am so happy to not have to watch commercials on YouTube. And that was the whole point of the subscription for me, to pay. It's worth it. It's worth every penny. I don't need that kind of annoyance. I was annoyed by commercials pretty much my entire life. Well, I'll take that back. Until Replay TV came along. That was actually, I think, in the mid-'80s. Yeah, that was when the digital video recorder craze hit. And I jumped on that. I loved that. That was so great. The video quality was atrocious. But the regular video quality in the early 80s wasn't much better. You know, it was 480 lines of resolution for the most part when you were watching television. Now, when I watch YouTube, I watch it when I'm downloading stuff, when I'm looking at a computer, not my phone. And when I watch stuff on YouTube, I watch it on my TV. So I miss out on the comments and so forth. I have to get on the computer to find those, to see those, which is fine with me. But I really like not having to watch commercials. So nice. So I don't know what I'm gonna, how long this channel is gonna last. Is YouTube gonna just kick it immediately off? I am a white person, and apparently the left, they're more and more convinced all the time that if you're white, you're racist. Although, it's funny that all these white people that are in the left, they're apparently not racist. They have some magical protection, that fairy dust of some kind or something that they sprinkle on themselves, so they are immune from the woke crowd, or they are immune to the wrath of the woke crowd, or something like that. But not the rest of us, because it has been decreed by someone, somewhere, in a basement somewhere, in a ridiculous college somewhere, that white people are just racist, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. And that might be the end of, white people on YouTube. Maybe YouTube will take all white people off of, However, there's something that maybe they don't know. And that is that I've got ancestors in Senegal. And hint, they're not Caucasian. So what am I saying? I'm just going to leave it at that. How about that? I'll just leave it at that. I don't know what this guy's doing. Get around him because he's right in the middle of the road. I don't understand that. Maybe that thing's warming up or something. Anyway, I don't know how long I'll be doing this, but it's an interesting thing to do. I never know what I'm going to say. I really never know what I'm going to say. And it made me a little bit uncomfortable to pick on Dan. However, what I said was what happened. The way that I saw it happen, the way that I lived it. I wasn't being mean. Well, I did get a little mean when I did say that, Scott Adams and Dan should get married and have babies. Maybe that was pushing it a little bit. But that was also being a little bit on the jokey, humorous side. Because that's actually quite funny. I find it quite funny. But then again, I don't really go in for all that, the gender complexity that the left wants to put on the rest of the world either. So I think it's really funny to make a joke about two guys getting married and having babies. I think that sounds funny. Yet apparently, we're supposed to believe that there are guys out there that's their dream. And maybe so. Whatever. What does the good book say? Oh, the good book. Oh, that's gonna set the left off. Well, everything is permissible, but not everything is advisable. That is, in my opinion, the most serious verse out of the Bible and the funniest verse out of the Bible. It's both at the same time. Because in a way, I think that a majority of humor comes directly from that. Humor is the truth of a situation, really. It's the distilled truth. Kind of like, if you distill critical race theory in a beaker, you'll end up with a little cow turd in the bottom of it. There will be a male cow turd in the bottom of it, because that's what it is. When you distill critical race theory into what it really is, it's a little piece of bullshit. Or a big piece of bullshit. Just depends how much you're distilling at the time. But you're still going to get bullshit. That's what you're going to get out of it. Now we're looking north. That's where I would have been driving this morning. And I have a feeling that Gore Pass is probably not that different either. Based on how nice this road is, this may be my way back home this afternoon too. Although I really wanted to catch Gore Pass, but we'll see. So yeah, my when I'm talking, I mean, it's just whatever is on my mind. There are times though when I do want to tell a story and I have to think about it and try to rein myself in to tell it somewhat accurately, especially if it's a little bit complicated and portions of the story allow for the grafting of political commentary onto the story. So like you have this nice tree, and then after you've grafted all this political commentary onto the points you have this crazy looking bush, which it looks like just a big bunch of political commentary. You follow my drift. I do not know what's going on with those cars there. That's a parking lot. Maybe hunting, maybe skating. Oh, the wind's blowing me. That's what's going on. I was thinking that my tires were like I was losing air in a tire. But we've got about a 40-mile-an-hour wind from the west, really. So anyway, we'll see where this channel goes. I have no idea. So many variables. And I am I am the type of person that does not like uncertainty. Although sometimes certainty can suck, but I don't like uncertainty. I like to have at least what I think is a reasonably clear picture of what might happen. And I understand you can never guess what's going to happen from one moment to the next. The way that the world is pushing on a particular country right now, you never know what's going to happen. You never know when that country might decide, screw it, we're done. We're not going to mess with you guys anymore. I don't think the people in Washington, they either understand what they're doing and they don't care that they are raising the world temperature way, way higher than it needs to be. Or maybe that's exactly what they want to do. Maybe they're part of the extinction theory bunch, you know, that want to see this world depopulated by a gigantic amount. I don't know. One thing's for sure, it's usually interesting to see what's going on. I'm just going to go ahead and run this camera and let's see just how far we can get before you tune out or I tune out. How does that sound? I bet you'll tune out before I will. And if I'm right, you owe me a dollar. Fair? I'm going to assume by your silence that you've agreed to that bet. Okay. But not a legal bet, just a friendly wager. If you come from the Interstate 70, go through Dillon, Silverthorne, that area, you'll end up on this road coming into Kremling. I'm going to show you a super cool shortcut. So the first thing that you do is you make sure you don't drive up to the FedEx facility. They're now hiring. Also, I guess actually you could just do that over here. So you don't drive there, and then there's another road here. You don't drive on that road. Do not drive on that road. Well, if you want to, you can, but that's not the shortcut. However, the shortcut is right here. It's really kind of hard to find. Oh yeah, let me see if I can actually do something here. Let's see if I can catch this. Oh man. Maybe that's the wrong spot. Try this again. I have to sort of get on the wrong side of the road here. Well, dang it. Okay. What I wanted to do, there was a 10-top Samurai that had been restored that was sitting over there on one of those addresses. And I wanted to just swing the camera around so that you could see it. I do have a consolation prize, though. Let me see if I can swing around till it. So that's the shortcut. Well, we're getting there. Typically, you have to double back. Bang. Okay, let's see if you can get some of that. I don't know if you can see that, but we're driving by a Huey Cobra attack helicopter. A real, honest to gosh, Huey Cobra attack helicopter. This isn't going to be the best view of it, but it's going to be the best one that I can give you right now. I think that, yeah, let's see if I can zoom you in just a little bit. Yeah, look at that. That might be so backlit that you can't really see anything. All right. Like everything else, this helicopter is making me think of a story. If you've watched my sister's channel, Woman at the Wheel, she lives down near Marlow, Oklahoma. We used to have a farm in that vicinity, maybe about 15 or 20 miles away. We lived, the nearest town we were by was Sterling, Oklahoma. I think that's pretty much right. And Sterling, Oklahoma, I think is about 20 miles west of Fort Sill, which is a lot of, you might know what Fort Sill is, but it's a big Army base, right? And they have helicopters, jets, they do all kinds of stuff. It's a very neat thing. I guess I better slow the hell down. So it's a very neat thing. And when we were kids, we would watch their war games in the evening. They'd shoot flares up. And in the mornings, I don't remember if it was every morning or just once in a while, occasionally, maybe is the best way to put it, a group of jets, I can't think of the right term, a group of jets would fly over our house, really low. It was very cool too. Then a few minutes later, a group of helicopters would fly over our house. And one day, one of those helicopters crashed on our property. I'm pretty sure that it killed the pilot and the gunner. And those are the positions in that helicopter. You have a pilot, I believe the pilot is in back and the gunner is in front, if I remember right. I've never flown one, so I'm not a pilot. And I don't want you to think I'm trying to act like a pilot. So the Army came out with trucks and machinery, and they cleaned the area, completely cleaned the area up. And me being a little kid at the time, maybe I was 12? That'd be about right. I'm trying to get my cruise control set after passing. So, me being a little kid of about 12, I went out to that area and I wandered around and just poked around when they left, just to see, like, I think that there was a bit of a fire, and they'd had trucks in there, they knocked brush down and everything. I found a little tiny lens, little tiny, probably about 1.5 inches in diameter, a dark lens that has to be part of the targeting system for something, or some optical thing. But the Huey Cobra attack helicopters had a really cool firing mechanism. I guess I can say it that way, aiming mechanism really, where when you put the helmet on, and you look through a monocle, there's a monocle that kind of hung outside the helmet. Anything that you looked at through that monocle, you could shoot. you know, within the range of your weaponry, right? And so I've always wondered what that little lens came from. And I also wondered if I was going to get thrown in jail for having it, because I don't know, it's a piece of Army stuff, but they left it. You know, as a little kid, it's like, why did they leave this piece? Obviously, I figured they just didn't see it. I don't know if I have that anymore. I might. I still have some of my stuff in storage, which is really annoying because I got a pretty large house. I should be able to have all my stuff in it. I've never filmed this direction. This is nice. So that was a really neat memory as a kid. I'm sure that it was a sad memory for the people that, you know, they lost their loved ones in that situation. But that was growing up near Sterling, so Sterling, Oklahoma. And my sister will occasionally talk about how much family we have down there, and she knows much more about it than I do. Her and actually all my sisters, I have 3 sisters, and they're all much more knowledgeable about the genealogy than I am. The only thing that I really know is that I am a mix of Irish, and I think at one point supposed to be some like Eastern European, and maybe something about Mongolia some, and Senegal. So I've got I guess you can say I'm an international breed or something like that. I don't know. But for those critical race theory people out there, I don't know. It's probably going to mess with their theory. Because if I'm not entirely white, or is it if I just look white, or is it if you just don't agree with those people, then they deem you a racist? Well, I know the answer to that question. That was easy. The answer to that question is if you don't agree with all the crap they're selling, then you're a white supremacist. It doesn't matter your race, probably doesn't matter your age, probably doesn't matter your sex. But more than likely, if they can warp enough people's minds about gender, they could also claim that not only are you a racist, but you're a racist male. So maybe they could call you a white male, because the white male, that is the biggest affront and threat to the critical race people. It's kind of funny. That is their biggest fear. White males don't buy their horse turds, right? Notice how I didn't cuss that time. Yeah, they didn't buy that cow manure. Okay, I gotta say it. They didn't buy the bullshit. We don't buy the bullshit. By and large, unless you've been college educated. Let me change that. Let me rephrase that. Because there are a lot of people that went through college, needed to go to college, learned a lot in college, and are actual productive members of society. Those people are educated, especially if they're not on the left, if they didn't fall for the left. If you fall for the left, if you fall for their bullshit, if you become indoctrinated, your education is secondary. Indoctrination is paramount for these people. Am I telling anyone anything they don't already know, including the left? It's funny that leftists will argue that point, but they know it. I mean, they're arguing, they're spitting into the wind, I guess. To our right is the Colorado River right now. To our left is the Union Pacific Railroad tracks up on the hillside. You can maybe you can see that white line up on the hillside. The tracks, that's about 100 feet up there, I guess. We're getting ready to go through Marshall. Let's take a moment and look at this neat little town. This was probably the main highway at one point. I think this was Main Street at one time. I don't really know enough about this town to be confident that I'm telling you the truth. Well, I'm not lying to you. I just don't know. Maybe that would be a better way to put it. But this was probably a rail town in times gone by. And I believe this was probably the main road to Marshall. And then when Highway 40 got updated, they moved it completely out of town. And they probably, at that point, pretty much killed any growth here in Marshall. But it's a neat little place. You know, people live here, people have grown up here, people have died here. I mean, it's a really neat little place. And it probably has a pretty cool history. So, yeah, that wasn't very painful. Not that it's painful to go look at a neat place, but as far as scheduling goes, it wasn't painful for my schedule. I do not understand why this area, the speed limit goes to 55. This is another one of those weird areas that it makes no sense. And so I try to accommodate, but you know that you're going slower than you should be going. You can feel it when you're driving through here. Is it because the road is narrow? It doesn't look narrow to me. Is it because the road doesn't have any shoulders? It looks to me like this road could be a 4-lane. And they could probably squeeze a shoulder out of it without adding any more concrete. Is it because there are a lot of intersections connecting to this road? I don't think so. I've only seen 1 or 2. I have no idea why it is 55 miles an hour here. You know, if anyone knows, please let me know. I would like to know why. It's probably for an interesting reason. I would think. I do, however, understand why this road goes to 45 here. We're getting into Byers Canyon, and this is such a nice, I love these canyons. They're so cool. You can look and see, you can just see what's in the hillside. It's great. And it's also just photogenic. I mean, it's really pretty. Again, one of the things I've never done, one of the things I would like to do is I would like to ride a train from Denver up to Glenwood. I'm not too much concerned about anything beyond that. And actually, I wouldn't mind just walking it. At one time, I would have said, "Oh, I'd like to ride my bike there," but I'm becoming less of a bicycle enthusiast now that I'm on this keto kind of a diet. I should explain that. I've talked about that a couple times, and then I get derailed. I get sidetracked, derailed. Well, we are by a railroad track. What I mean by that is, when I was eating a regular diet, right, the regular high carb, whatever, all the fruits and all the well, basically carbs. And I have to say this first. For some reason, the left hates people that eat meat. The only thing that makes sense to me now is that meat is really the healthiest thing there is to eat. A lot of people have to eat meat because their systems won't allow them to eat anything else. So Jordan Peterson and his daughter, there's a couple of great examples of, I think it's autoimmune, where your body actually attacks itself, but it's caused by carbohydrates. It's caused by the food you eat. I think a lot of things are caused by the food we eat, and I am mystified why the left attacks everything good. And I'm more mystified why anybody supports the left. Don't they care about their own friends and family? I mean, if they don't care about themselves, don't they care about their friends and family? How can you support the left when the left is only death and destruction and suffering? That's what the left is. That's their whole agenda. And people support that? I guess you have to have 4 years of college indoctrination to understand. Or maybe 6 years or 8 years. Because I don't get it. I don't get it. And one more side, I've got someone going about 50 coming up behind me. I'm doing 39. The speed limit is 35. And it's some female. The last person that got on my tail, she's right on my butt. The last person that got on my tail, like this person did, is a female also. So, what am I saying? Well, I'm saying that there are two sexes. That's what I'm saying. They're male and female. So,